One of the first things to do before beginning the sand casting process is to gather all of the materials. These materials include some of the following: a crucible, coal, aluminum cans, dirt, fire, gloves, glasses, hair dryer and some other important parts. Be sure to wear protective gear, clear any hazards that are in the workspace, do not spill any molten metal onto the floor, be wary of surrounding, use common sense, oftentimes it is forgotten but a very useful tool, keep a fire extinguisher nearby, use clamps, winky face. Melting the cans. To melt the cans, we need to heat up the foundry, make sure there is coal around the entire foundry so that there is even heating. Once the crucible is heated up in the foundry, you can add the cans to start melting them. The foundry needs to be heated up to the melting temperature of the metal, so we attached a hair blower to a gas line pipe in order to get air circulation to the fire at the bottom of the foundry. When the can is all melted down, we needed to remove impurities, or slag. Use a piece of metal to remove the slag. Quick tips: heat up the foundry to the melting temperature on the metal. To speed up this process, attach a hair blower to a pipe so that there is airflow to the fire in the foundry. Make sure both sides of the crucible is heated evenly. Remove the impurities, or slag, with a metal rod.
Sponsored by
Use the White Claw cans, fuck the Bud Light.
White Claw and Bud Light.
.3D printed part. We decided to make a 1x1 V-slot linear rail. We 3D printed the part so that we could use it to make the negative mold.
Quick tips: ensure mold is clean and free of any debris. Pour sand into mold and make sure it is tight. Let the sand solidify. Carefully remove the mold. Packing the sand. Once you select your object to sand cast, you will need to create a negative mold into the sand/dirt. It is important to pack sand well to avoid molten metal to flow into unwanted areas. The sand/dirt needs to be thick to prevent cracking and burn through when the molten metal is poured into the sand. Then you need to make sure the sand/dirt solidify so that it will keep the mold. Once that is done, you will need to carefully remove the mold from the stand. The sand/dirt is hard enough to hold together, but it is not strong enough to withstand and drops or sudden impact.
We have our mold over here, which unfortunately, since these are tight tolerances, the sand gets kind of packed over here. So it won't turn out exactly as planned, but there will be some groovage.
There will be slight groovage on the sides,
So
but
now
we're not going to get.
I have spent less time on a lot of my engineering classes than I have on packing the sand.
Top half of the mold right now, and this is where we're going to be filling in the aluminum, and then this is going to be our overflow hole, which will tell us when it is done filling. We'll be filling through here. We're going to make a flow hole right there. And so if we turn this around and see, trying to get the shape out, it doesn't work too well because the sand is a little bit damp and it sticks to these tight tolerances around here. And we did try drying it off and redoing it about 3 times.
Pouring the molten metal. Caution. This is the most dangerous part of the project. Ideally, it is best to fill the mold from the bottom up to prevent splashing. Use the clamp to pick up the crucible with the molten metal to pour into the mold. Once the mold is filled, let the molten metal cool. Next, sand needs to be to get the final casting. Oftentimes the finished product is not smooth and additional machining is needed to remove gates and risers. Quick tips: create a pathway so that molten metal can fill from bottom up. Use the clamps to pick up the crucible with molten metal to pour into the mold, let the casting cool, remove the sand. Final machining might be needed to remove the gates and risers.
Of course it worked. Wait, it actually... Wait a second. It kind of has the design. And like exactly as we planned.
Step 6. The finished casting still needs to be cleaned up.